They had it all, mansions, Maybachs, and money like water. But at one point something just went completely wrong. These are the rappers who didn't just fall off, they fell all the way down. I'm talking repo trucks in the driveway, IRS letters stacking like mixtapes, and Instagram flexes backed by overdraft fees. Some of them got caught up in bad contracts, others just straight up couldn't stop blowing racks on pet tigers, private jets, and 87-person entourages. And trust me, you're gonna want to stick around for the end, because by the time we get there, the fall-offs get so bad you won't know whether to laugh, cry, or Venmo them $5 out of pity. We're counting down 10 rappers who didn't just lose a little bit of money, they went insanely broke. MC Hammer. MC Hammer wasn't just rich, he was stupid rich. In the early 90s, this man was pulling in $30 million a year, had a mansion the size of a mall, a private jet, a fleet of sports cars, and an entourage that made him look like he was running his own army. Literally, Hammer was paying over 200 people, barbers, chefs, cousins, his cousins' cousins, and probably some guy who just held his sunglasses. But the money train didn't just slow down, it flew off the damn tracks. Hammer blew through his fortune like it was cursed. He reportedly spent over $500,000 a month just keeping up appearances. And when the record sales dipped, the label checks stopped coming in, and the tours dried up. Hammer kept living like he was still printing money. By 1996, it all came crashing down. He filed for bankruptcy, listing over $13 million in debt and just $9 million in assets, which sounds like a lot, until you realize he owed back taxes, massive loans, and he had basically financed his entire lifestyle like a rapper version of a Ponzi scheme. At one point, he owed money to everyone from the IRS to landscapers. Bro was dodging creditors like he dodged falling off beat. But here's the thing, Hammer never fully recovered. He did some preaching, dabbled in tech, and popped up on a few nostalgia tours, but the days of gold-plated gates and custom Hummers were gone forever. And to this day, Hammer time is less about dancing and more about a warning, a flashing red light at the start of every rap career that screams, do not do what this man did. Because when you make $30 million and still go broke, that ain't just bad luck, that's legendary financial self-destruction. Up next, a man who declared bankruptcy with $0 in his savings and only $100 in his checking, yet still had time to argue with Trick Daddy jokes online. Let's talk about Trick Love Da Kids. Trick Daddy Dollars, that was the name, but somewhere along the way them dollars disappeared. By the time Trick filed for bankruptcy in 2019, his finances looked like the opening scene of a horror movie. According to court docs, he had $0 in savings and just $100 in his checking account. That's not a rap cap, that's a grown man's real life financial statement. Homie was one Uber ride away from negative balance fees, and it gets worse. Trick listed his assets as a 2004 SUV, a crib worth less than what DJ Khaled spent on beard oil, and a pit bull. Not a kennel, not a dog business, just a single pit bull. Meanwhile, his debts added up to over $800,000, with $57,000 owed in back child support and $290,000 in unpaid taxes. So how did Trick go from 106 in Park Royalty to hitting rock bottom? 2 words, bad business. Trick. Daddy was always beloved in the streets, but behind the scenes he was terrible with money. His record deals weren't structured to build generational wealth, and he stayed strapped with legal issues, unpaid loans, and mounting child support. Combine that with some health problems, lupus, multiple arrests, and suddenly you've got a man who used to rock Versace now struggling to pay Verizon. And the wild part? Trick never even pretended like he was doing better than he was. He'd show up to interviews with no security, wearing a basic white tee, telling everyone straight up, I'm broke but I ain't ashamed. Gotta respect the honesty if not the accountant. But what really cements his spot on this list? The way he handled going broke like it was just another day at the office. This man was still doing podcasts, opening restaurants, and beefing online like he wasn't 3 steps from a pawn shop. Trick Daddy didn't just lose money, he normalized the struggle and somehow made being broke look like a lifestyle choice. But let's be real, ain't no one choosing to be that down bad. Next we have a man who was once G-Unit Southern Star, then ended up begging 50 Cent for mercy on a recorded phone call. Let's talk about Young Buck. Young Buck. Young Buck had the hardest name in the game and one of the softest bank accounts by the time it all hit the fan. This man went from riding high with G-Unit, iced out and draped in street credit, to filing for bankruptcy not once but twice. And in between those filings, he got dragged harder than Ja Rule at a 50 Cent concert. Let's rewind. At his peak, Young Buck was the southern muscle behind G-Unit. Platinum plaques, hit singles, features with 50 Cent, Eminem, Game, you name it. But by the late 2000s, the money started drying up. The IRS wasn't playing, and Buck, he was behind on taxes like a SoundCloud rapper behind on rent. In 2010, the feds raided his house, took jewelry, took recording equipment, even took furniture. That's when you know it's real, when they start packing up your couch like it's evidence. According to court docs, Buck owed over $300,000 to the IRS and had basically no way to pay it off. Then came the most embarrassing part, a leaked phone call with 50 Cent, where young Buck was literally begging for help. Not asking, begging. Sounded like he was trying to secure a loan and therapy at the same time. Come on, Fifth, I'm just trying to get back right.
So, I understand you want your money and pushing for my, but pulling and meeting your money that which I owe you.
50, of course, being 50, turned it into a meme.
And you got to stay back because your finances aren't right. You had to stay back because your management, Shad, felt that it was more lucrative for you to stay back and do the shows that he created.
To make matters worse, Buck kept getting hit with more legal drama, alleged unpaid child support, unpaid royalties, and bankruptcy court telling him he had to sell his music catalog just to cover the basics. And here's the kicker, when Buck filed for bankruptcy in 2020 again, he claimed he only had about $100 in cash, a single vehicle, and monthly expenses he couldn't pay. G-Unit money long gone. Fame still barely holding. Bank account DOA. He tried to bounce back with music, mixtapes, interviews, but let's be real, by the time you're ducking repo men and your jewelry's rented, the comeback road ain't exactly paved with platinum. Young Buck went from G-Unit soldier to financial casualty, one hit away from having to ask Lloyd Banks for gas money. Coming up, a legend with a bark as loud as his hits, who ended up buried under debt, child support, and court dates. The tragic financial spiral of DMX is next. DMX. Oh, this guy is from one of our videos about psychos, remember? He did some real wild shit. If you still haven't watched it, go check it out. But let's get back to DMX here. DMX wasn't just a rapper, he was a force of nature. That raspy bark, the raw pain in his voice. X made you feel every bar, and when he dropped, the whole world listened. 5 #1 albums in a row, sold over 74 million records, movie deals, stadium tours, and yet he died broke. No mansions, no offshore accounts, not even a retirement fund, just debt, lawsuits, and 15 mouths to feed. Literally, X had 15 kids, and the child support payments were stacked taller than his discography. Let's break it down. Despite making tens of millions during his career, DMX's finances were destroyed by addiction, legal issues, and the constant weight of child support. In 2013, he filed for bankruptcy and claimed he had less than $50,000 in assets, but owed between $1 million and $10 million. That's a gap so wide you could fit the Rough Riders tour bus through it. And what did he list as possessions? A few $100 in clothes, no property, no car, no bank account. This wasn't just a temporary dip. This was a full-blown financial collapse. His own lawyers said X had no steady income and couldn't even maintain basic bills. And that's not even getting into the IRS. In 2017, DMX was indicted for tax fraud, $1.7 million in unpaid taxes. The Fed said he was living off the grid, using cash, hiding royalties. They made it sound like X was dropping albums and ducking Uncle Sam like it was a sport. He served a year in prison for it, and when he came out, he tried to bounce back, did some shows, a Verzuz battle with Snoop, even talked about new music, but the money still gone. When he tragically passed away in 2021, his estate was left in chaos. Reports said he died with no will and barely any money. A man who once made millions off pain died with none of it left. DMX gave the world everything, but the world and the business side of it gave him very little in return. This wasn't just a rapper going broke, this was a man drained by life, fame, and the system. Next up, a producer who made $70 million and blew it all on yachts, cocaine, and more women than a reality show casting call. Let's talk about Scott Storch. Scott Storch was the man behind the music. This dude made hits, literally. Beyonce, he made her bounce. 50 Cent gave him fire. Fat Joe, Chris Brown, Justin Timberlake, Dr. Dre, the man had his fingerprints on every platinum record in the 2000s. And at his peak, Scott Storch was worth over $70 million. Now ask yourself this, how do you blow $70 million in under 3 years? The answer? One word, cocaine. At one point, Scott was reportedly dropping $250,000 a month on coke. That's not a typo, that's the GDP of a small country getting snorted up his nose. And it wasn't just drugs, this man bought multiple mansions, luxury cars like they were Happy Meals, and a private jet just to flex. No real business, just vibes. And women? He once said he was spending so much on models, dancers, and actresses that he basically built his own personal Maxim calendar. Champagne lifestyle, Four Loco budget. By 2009, the money was gone. Scott filed for bankruptcy and said he only had $3,600 in assets, from $70 million to $3,000 in a keyboard. And then the legal battle started. He got sued by everyone from car dealerships to baby mamas, got arrested for failing to pay child support, even got locked up for stealing a Bentley he couldn't afford. Imagine being a world famous hitmaker and you're getting booked like a broke SoundCloud scammer. To his credit, Scott tried to bounce back. He got clean, started making beats again, and rebuilt his reputation a little. But the industry never fully forgot the blowout. The dude who went from Grammy night to grimy nights, all because he couldn't put the bag down. And I don't mean the money bag. Scott Storch is living proof that it's not how much you make, it's how much you keep. And if your biggest investment is your coke plug, let's just say you might need to start budgeting for a public defender. Next up, he ran with Rockefeller, battled Jay-Z's enemies, and was supposed to be Philly's next king. But after the music stopped, Beanie Sigel found himself battling the IRS and broke as hell. Beanie Sigel. Beanie Sigel was once that guy, the street poet of Rockefeller, Jay-Z's lyrical pit bull. When Bean spit, you felt it in your chest, gritty, raw, authentic. He was supposed to carry the East Coast on his back. Instead, he ended up carrying legal debt, IRS bills, and one of the worst financial downfalls in rap history. At the height of his career, Beanie was moving like a boss, platinum albums, movie roles, and enough street cred to scare off half the XXL freshman list. But behind the bars and bravado was a man living with zero financial structure and about 14 ongoing court cases. Let's start with the IRS. In 2010, Beanie got hit with tax evasion charges. The government said he owed over $728,000 in back taxes from 2003 to 2005. And not only was he dodging payments, he didn't even file returns. It's like he thought the IRS was gonna forget about him just because he dropped Feel It in the Air. Spoiler, they didn't forget. He pled guilty and got sentenced to 2 years in federal prison, and when he came out, he wasn't greeted with a label advance or a fat check. He was broke, struggling, living off scraps. At one point, he told the judge he only had $3,200 to his name and couldn't afford his own lawyer. This is a man who once shared stages with Jay-Z and DMX, now having to fill out financial aid forms for his freedom. And it didn't stop there. Beanie got shot in 2014 and had to have a lung removed. His health fell off, his voice changed, and his already shaky music career basically flatlined. The industry moved on. Rockefeller dissolved, and Beanie left trying to rebuild from scratch with a broken body and a bruised bank account. From a lyrical giant to a financial ghost, Beanie Sigel's story ain't just about bad money management. It's about how fast loyalty fades when the cash dries up. Coming next, the Houston rapper who fell off so hard people forgot he even existed. Once called the freestyle king, Lil Flip flipped his career into obscurity and financial struggle. Lil Flip. Once upon a time, Lil Flip was the Southern golden child. He had the grills, the GameCube chains, the double albums. In the early 2000s, Flip was the freestyle king out of Houston, riding high off hits like Sunshine and Game Over. And let's be real, back then, he looked unstoppable. But as fast as he rose, he disappeared even quicker. Flip had the classic rapper starter pack, fast money, faster cars, and the kind of entourage that eats up your budget like termites. Combine that with the fact that he was independent early on, which meant he got a bigger cut of his sales, but also had to fund everything himself. And once the sales stopped, the bills didn't. By the time the mid-2000s rolled around, the beef with T.I. nuked his momentum. The fans faded, the features dried up, and Flip, he just kept dropping mixtapes no one was asking for, like a rapper trying to keep his career on life. He just kept dropping mixtapes no one was asking for, like a rapper trying to keep his career on life support with mixtape CPR. Then came the financial warning signs. He got caught in lawsuits over show no-shows, unpaid debts, and allegedly even pawned his own jewelry. Fans started seeing him pop up in random interviews wearing the same chain from 2004, talking about investments that never actually existed. Bro was still rapping like it was crunk season. Meanwhile, the game had moved on to melodic pain and 808s. He tried to pivot, selling merch, claiming he was writing books, dropping albums on obscure streaming platforms, but none of it hit, none of it paid like it used to. Flip went from millions to maybe thousands if that, and worst of all, nobody really noticed. And that's the cruelest kind of bro broke. You're not just struggling financially, you're struggling in silence. Lil Flip didn't crash in flames like Hammer or Buck. He faded away slowly. The money dried up, the buzz disappeared, and the freestyle king turned into a footnote. Sometimes going broke doesn't mean headlines. Sometimes it means vanishing, quietly, painfully, and permanently. Next up, a Bronx heavyweight who bragged about the big bags, then got knocked down by an even bigger one, the IRS. Let's talk about Fat Joe. Fat Joe. Fat Joe always looked like money. Clean sneakers, custom everything, Terror Squad chains so heavy they needed their own TSA check. And in the 2000s, Joey Crack was moving like a boss. Lean Back was a global smash and his name was in every room that mattered. But behind the gloss and the Grammy nods was a man getting cooked by the IRS. In 2012, Fat Joe pled guilty to tax evasion after failing to file returns from 2007 to 2010. That's 4 years of no taxes, not missed payments, not partial returns, nothing. My man was out here ducking the IRS like it was a diss track, and it wasn't chump change either. He owed over $700,000, not counting interest and penalties. By the time they were done with him, the government was probably listening to Make It Rain on loop, laughing at the irony. He got sentenced to 4 months in prison in 2013, and the fall from grace was brutal. Joe went from eating steak dinners at Mr. Chow to prison trays and fluorescent lights. But here's the twist, Fat Joe didn't stay down. He cleaned up his act, paid off what he owed, and somehow came back. But don't let the comeback fool you. That IRS bill hurt. Joe admitted in interviews that it wrecked his finances. He had to cut his circle, sell assets, and restructure his entire lifestyle. He once said, "When the IRS knocks, they don't play." Translation, you can beat your rivals in the booth, but you'll never beat the tax man. And honestly, it's wild to think that a man who once made a career off all the way up had to start from the bottom just to break even. That's the reality of fame with no financial discipline. It only takes one mistake to get turned into a government meme. Fat Joe got lucky. He had a second win, but for a while, he was on a very short list, celebs who rapped about money and then got humbled by the feds. Next, he was the king of Rack City, until his landlord came knocking and the city repoed his car. It's time to talk about the most famous rapper in this list, Tigga. Tigga had a hit that made strip clubs erupt every time it dropped. Rack City was everywhere. Gold chains, models, Lambos, exotic pets. Tyga was living like a Grand Theft Auto character with unlimited cheat codes. But the problem with cheat codes, they don't work in real life. Behind the scenes, Tyga was racking up lawsuits, unpaid debts, and eviction notices like he was trying to complete a financial failure bingo card. Let's start with the mansions. Tyga had a habit of moving into luxury homes he either couldn't afford or just straight up refused to pay for. He got sued multiple times by landlords for owing tens of thousands in unpaid rent. One LA landlord said Tigga owed $124,000 in back rent. Tyga's response? He threw a party at the house while the lawsuit was still active. That's a new level of disrespect, getting sued and still double dipping in the pool. And then there was the car drama. Tigga loved exotic whips, Maybachs, Ferraris, Rolls Royces, all looking great in the gram pics until the repo man showed up. Multiple times his cars got snatched back like Blockbuster DVDs in 2002. One dealership said Tyga stopped making payments on a 2013 Lamborghini Aventador and a Rolls Royce Ghost, then tried to keep both anyway. That's not rapper behavior. That's Facebook marketplace scammer energy. And let's not forget the time he got sued for stiffing a jewelry store. The tab, over $200,000. How you wear ice that's not even yours like you're renting respect. To be fair, Tyga's had some rebounds. He launched an OnlyFans during the pandemic, reportedly made bank, and signed a couple deals that helped patch the damage. But the fact that he was once considered part of rap's elite and now gets clowned for his finances shows you how quick the industry turns on you. Tyga's not technically bankrupt, but when your name gets brought up more for court dates than chart placements, you're on this list for a reason. Next and final, the once boy wonder who had pre-teens screaming in private jets flexed on Instagram, only for it to come out he had $1,500 in his bank account. Let's close this out with Bow Wow. Bow Wow. Bow Wow had it all before he hit puberty. Platinum plaques, movies 106, and park domination. He was basically hip-hop's child star Prince, the rap version of Macaulay Culkin with cornrows. But fast forward a decade, and Bow Wow's career wasn't the only thing aging badly. His bank account was in critical condition. Let's start with the now infamous Bow Wow challenge. In 2017, he posted a picture of a private jet claiming he was flying out in style. Problem is, someone on the same commercial flight saw him and Coach and exposed him instantly. That moment didn't just birth a meme, it revealed something deeper. Bow Wow was out here flexing broke, and court documents backed it up. In a 2012 child support case, Bow Wow told a judge he was pulling in just $4,000 a month and had $1,500 in his checking account. That's less than what he probably paid for one chain during the Like You days. And yet, he was still renting Rolls Royces, shopping like he was on an unlimited tab, and posting like his name was still on the Forbes list. Let's be real. Bow Wow isn't technically bankrupt, but his spending habits mixed with falling fame put him in the danger zone. He got sued for not showing up to concerts, allegedly skipped payments on leased luxury cars, even got roasted by 50 Cent for trying to sneak into clubs without paying for bottles. That's when you know you've hit rapper rock bottom, when 50's roasting you for being broke, and he ain't even your enemy. Bow Wow tried to pivot, hosting gigs, reality TV, a minor resurgence here and there, but the aura was gone, the money wasn't flowing like it used to, and the internet, unforgiving. The Bow Wow challenge might have been a meme to us, but for him, it was a digital scarlet letter that said, "I used to be rich." He's not sleeping on couches, but he ain't flying private either. Bow Wow's the poster child for what happens when image outpaces income and the internet catches the receipts. Now here's the wild part, every rapper we just covered, they're not even alone, not by a long shot. For every MC Hammer or DMX, there's 5 other rappers out here flexing like their accountant ain't 2 steps from quitting. Because this cycle, it never stops. The fast money, the bad contracts, the entourage full of yes men who vanish the second the money slows down. It's a trap disguised as a lifestyle, and unless you've got Jay-Z level discipline or a team that actually knows what they're doing, you're one iced out chain away from joining this list yourself. And the ones we just talked about, they're just the tip of the iceberg. There's a whole wave of newer rappers out here burning through advances like it's monopoly money, renting foreigns for music videos they can't afford to keep, signing 360 deals that eat half their revenue before they even touch a stage. This game will chew you up fast, and if you're not careful, you end up famous, broke, and wondering why your debit card keeps declining at Wingstop. So if you're wondering who else is close to crashing out financially, or who already hit rock bottom without telling anybody, you're not gonna believe what we found next, because this wasn't the final chapter. Thanks for watching this video. If you liked it, hit the like button, click on the cards displayed on your screen to see more awesome videos, and don't miss out on the next releases. See ya.